Show.
Matt's awesome. Everybody loves and respects Matt.
Follow Matt on Twitter and Instagram at Matt Schneidman. Sound off now on the NicoletLaw.com talk and text line at 1-877-794-1973. That's 1-877-794-1973.
If I'm in this crummy situation, let's make content out of it.
The Matt Schneidman Show is brought to you by Potawatomi Sportsbook. Bet above the rest.
Never go corporate. Always go local.
With Hunter Baumgardt, here's Matt Schneidman on the game.
Wow, Hunter has a mention in the intro now.
We're big time. We're big
Look
time.
At that.
Yep.
We're back. I think our last show was last Tuesday.
Yeah.
And by we, I mean me and Doug, because Hunter was on the IR. Are we allowed to share what you were on the IR with?
I was sick on the IL or IR.
Sick
I was
on
sick.
the IL.
But I had some time to make that intro and insert the name into there. So
you got big voice guy to say your name for this show. Listen,
I did.
We have not had a show in about 6 days. My life was empty. My life was lonely without it. Without seeing Hunter. He's feeling better.
Yes.
He's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm healthy. It's Packers-Lions week.
It is.
Big week. Big week. Now, it feels like Thursday because this Thursday to Thursday game for the Packers is strange. Hasn't happened under Matt LaFleur yet. Matt LaFleur said he's never had it in his career, but basically Sunday's practice was Wednesday. Today's practice was Thursday. Tomorrow's practice is Friday before the Thursday game. Normally, after a Thursday game, you have the weekend off because the team plays the following Sunday. That's what the Packers will have next week because they go Thursday game in Detroit, then Sunday game in Seattle. But no, not this week. Full week of rest, but Thursday to Thursday. We got plenty to discuss. The Lions' injuries, that could throw a wrench in this game. The Packers' injuries, they might be getting some guys healthy this week. What are some things to watch in this Packers-Lions matchup? I'll dish out my score prediction, and we'll go through the first Pro Bowl fan voting return that was released today. But first, I want to talk some Packers run game. The Packers are a physical team. Now, I don't remember the last time the Packers were described as a physical team. You remember week 6 of the 2022 season. I'll take you all the way back to there. New York Jets came into Green Bay after the Packers came back from London, that crushing loss to the Giants. And the Jets came in and blew these guys out in the second half. 27-10 was the final score. Robert Saleh, now a Packers consultant, said after the game that he wanted to take Matt LaFleur's team out to deep water and see how far they could take them before they drown. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing. Dan Campbell has come in here and bullied these guys a couple times. The Packers weren't always known as a hard-nosed, tough physical team under Matt LaFleur. That's the Steelers. That's the Lions. This year, though, that's different. Lucas Van Ness talked about it today. We want to out-physical people. Diana Rossini, our insider at The Athletic, had a report the other day. She was talking to one executive, I believe it was, in charge of making a coaching hire or who's expecting to be making a new head coach hire. And she said they want a tough physical brand of football on their team that they don't have now. And the 3 teams this executive mentioned were the Chiefs, the Lions, and the Packers. I don't remember the last time that was the case. And where's toughness bred? In the trenches. It's bred in the trenches. Packers have a good run game. They can stop the run. Last time I checked, I'm trying to pull up the stats now. Last time I checked, they were 4th in rushing yards per game, 8th in rushing yards allowed per game. Josh Jacobs is a big reason why, isn't he, Hunter?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And he has transformed this running game. Not that it wasn't good with Aaron Jones, but he has transformed it just by who he is and what he is able to do and how impressive he's been. And we didn't only see it out of the backfield against Miami. We saw it in the passing game as well. And so, boy, he has been, I think, even more than what Packers fans were hoping for when they made that signing, a guy to replace a guy who was beloved. And boy, it's been everything that I think the Packers and Packers fans have wanted and more. But also that credit to the offensive line. I mean, I think I don't know if the offensive line is getting as much credit as they deserve for how they played this season and how they've protected Love and how they've protected and opened holes for Josh Jacobs as well, and even Emmanuel Wilson and Brooks and their running backs and heck, also the blocking on sweeps and different. I mean, the offensive line has been, I think, one of the underrated bright spots of the season, and it goes hand in hand with what Josh Jacobs is doing.
Yeah, Matt LaFleur was not happy about the offensive line's run blocking against the Dolphins. He was asked a question, I believe it was Friday, about the offensive line, and he said, whoa. We were not good enough run blocking. Far too many times, Josh Jacobs had to try and evade people at the line of scrimmage. And Josh Jacobs' numbers were not pretty from that Dolphins game. 19 carries, 43 yards. That's 2.3 yards per carry, and that 1-yard touchdown. Matt LaFleur put the blame on the offensive line. Here's the numbers I was looking for. Packers are 5th in the NFL in rushing yards per game, 148.5. Detroit is 4th, 154.4. On the defensive side of the ball, the Packers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me double check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th in rushing yards allowed per game at 106.6. The Lions, 93.5. They are 5th. So both of these teams, strong running the football, strong defending the run. I don't know that there's a direct correlation between the move the Packers made and this so-called identity shift. But Aaron Jones is not the same running back as Josh Jacobs. Super productive, as I've said, future Packers Hall of Famer, but he just runs different. Adam Stenavich, the Packers offensive coordinator, was asked today about not necessarily Josh Jacobs versus Aaron Jones, but more so what kind of different style he brings. And I think you'll find this interesting, what Stenavich had to say.
I'd say they're both different players for sure. Aaron's more of a slasher. He can make, plays. They both make plays in the pass game, but he's more of a slasher, more of an outside zone guy. Josh is probably more of a downhill runner. They both do a very good job breaking tackles, but I think the way Josh runs, it's like you said, just a little more physical from that standpoint. He's playing really well, and I think the team's rallying around him and his play style. And I would agree. We're playing very physically right now.
So is that contain? Like, you guys didn't do a whole lot of duo before this, and now you got him, and it feels like you do that more. And tell me if I'm wrong with this assessment, but
no,
you do it a lot more than you ever.
I think that's that's obviously something he likes, and we're having success with. So just one of those things that just go with it. If it's working, stick with it. Don't overcomplicate things too much. But it's fun to watch him go out there and just he does a great job hitting the hole, breaking tackles, obviously making DBs miss. He's spinning, and making guys miss that way. It's pretty cool to watch him. Just how he's running the ball right now.
Runs more physical. We're playing physically. The whole team feeds off him. Josh Jacobs, in essence, has changed the identity of the Green Bay Packers with how he runs, with how that style permeates throughout the team. And as Adam Stenavich said, this is not taking away from what Aaron Jones brought to the team. He was a slasher. He was a good receiver, but he just has a different style. Packers were productive with him. But this identity, Hunter, that the Packers have now, it's something that fans have been wanting for a long time, and Josh Jacobs is bringing it.
Yeah, I think for years they've been wanting to see more out of Aaron Jones as far as getting the ball more. It wasn't just more out of what Jones did when he got the football, but more, okay, let's give the ball to him more. And Josh Jacobs, you're able to do that more than probably Aaron Jones was, more than almost any other running back. We heard it, Matt LaFleur say it on Friday, talking about, well, how many guys can get that many carries in a span of 5 days? And LaFleur's like, probably just one, and that's Josh Jacobs. So I feel like what he's brought is, of course, toughness, the way he runs, everything about him. He's a really good running back, but he's able to just wear defenses down. He's able to just take run after run, get the ball, touch after touch after touch. And that's just not necessarily what LaFleur felt he had, I think, with Aaron Jones. It just kind of seems like that, where, and I know a lot of Aaron Jones's tenure was also with Aaron Rodgers, so you had a different offense there. But boy, oh boy, when you're really playing off the run, the pass with the run right now, it's all just working together for that offense.
I can't remember if you were on the show when I mentioned this stat, but Josh Jacobs has played, at the time it was 11 games for the Packers. Now he's played 12. Through Josh Jacobs' first 11 games with the Packers, he had 3 games of 25 plus carries. Aaron Jones had 1 game of 25 plus carries in 102 career games with the Packers.
There you go.
Now, Aaron Jones eclipsed 25 touches because he caught the ball. But in terms of just running, repeatedly wearing the defense down, that's just something Josh Jacobs brings that Aaron Jones didn't. And, he brought plenty else that was good for this team. We'll be back here 4 years after whenever he retires to go into the Packers Hall of Fame. But I think the Packers made a wise decision in making that swap, and it's paid off. That being said, that is not what my final judgment is. It's a couple days after the game. Normally, we always do our final judgments on Mondays, but we didn't have a show on Friday because of the holiday. So our final judgment has to wait till Monday. It's time now for our final judgments, not my final judgment, our final judgments, presented by Habush, and Rotier. It's a law firm. I believe it's a personal injury law firm. Now, my final judgment. We're already past the Dolphins game, so my final judgment has to do with the next game coming up. I don't know if that's allowed. Hopefully, Habush, and Rotier will forgive me and not draw or not pull out of sponsoring this segment. My final judgment is if the Packers beat the Lions, which I think they do, 31-27 Packers is my prediction.
There it
We'll
is.
get into that later as to why I'm picking that. If the Packers beat the Lions, I think they will win the Super Bowl.
Whoa.
If they lose to the Lions, I think they lose in the NFC Championship game to Detroit. If they beat the Lions,
It's the
what was
final
that?
judgment. It's the final judgment.
Oh,
It's the
I didn't know
gavel
that was
sound.
didn't know if there were gunshots in the studio.
Jeez. Here I am
If
trying
the
to be
Packers
creative
go into
over here.
Detroit and beat the Lions, which I think they will,
Yeah.
I think the Packers win the Super Bowl. So I guess I'm predicting the Packers to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, in essence, yes. Wow, that is at 6:12 on December 2nd, quite a proclamation. But I think it shows how big this game is.
Massive.
Like, it's huge. I mean, obviously, you're probably playing for a home playoff game. You're playing for a possible bye. Like, the winner of the NFC North could very well get the number 1 overall seed. And so this game is going to go so far into that. And I think it gives you confidence. So it's interesting because you say if they lose, they are going to lose in the NFC Championship game to the Lions, which means Detroit would have beat them 3 times.
Right. Now, I am not making this prediction with the assumption that the Packers will get the 1 seed or even a home playoff game.
Right.
I am just saying I think the Lions are the best team in the NFC,
Mm-hmm.
with the Eagles slowly creeping up, Vikings 3rd, Packers 4th. But if the Packers beat the Lions, even though they're decimated up front with injuries, I think that would increase my belief that the Packers can beat the Lions in the playoffs. And I'm sticking with my prediction that the Packers and Lions will face off in the NFC Championship game no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what. But if the Packers beat the Lions on Thursday, my belief that they can then go into Detroit or Green Bay and beat them again will be much higher than if the Packers lose a second time. I know it's hard to beat a team 3 times. So if the Lions win the first 2 and they meet again, it's hard to do. But if the Lions win these first 2, I don't know if the Packers can pull it off. If the Packers win on Thursday, I'm going to be confident, not that I have any rooting interest other than me wanting to cover a Super Bowl because that's on my bucket list. I am confident that the Packers can beat the Lions in the rubber match. So that is my final judgment. Hunter, do you got something?
Yeah. When watching that game against the Dolphins, it seems as though, and my final judgment for the week or the time being, this team is clicking about, to me, when you put all the phases together right now, when you look at the last few games, I feel like the Packers are in a situation where they're clicking as much as they were late last season. And the late last season was when everybody, the Vikings game comes to mind. Obviously, there was the games at the end of the season, obviously the Bears game to get into the postseason. But they were clicking, and there was a lot of confidence in that locker room. There was a lot of confidence, obviously, in the fan base as well. They go into Dallas, they get the win. the Packers, I feel like, are in that scenario right now where they're a confident group. They got 2 wins in 5 days. They beat, sure, decimated San Francisco team, but you still absolutely blew them out, which you came there to do. And you beat your rival. Your special teams made a big play to beat your rival. Your special teams made a big play to beat the Dolphins. Your running game's going. Your pass rush came alive, against Tua. I just feel like everything, special teams, defense, offense, clicking right now, like it felt like it was last season. And they went into Dallas against a better team at the time and won. And so I feel like that final judgment can be that they'll do the same thing and go into a hostile environment and beat what is right now a better team in Detroit on Thursday.
Fair enough. Right now I saw something today. Let me pull it up. Probability and analytics, I believe, of the likelihood each team gets each seed. So Seth Walder, who does analytics, posted this chart. It's on his Twitter feed. He tweeted it at 11:28 a.m. Central Time if you want to go check it out. But the Lions have a 67.6% chance of getting the 1 seed, 17.5% chance of getting the 2 seed, so on and so forth. The Packers, 1.6% chance of getting the 1 seed, 3.2% chance of getting the 2 seed, 0 for the 3, 0% for the 4, 35% for the 5 seed, 43.9% for the 6 seed, and 15.5% for the 7 seed. Right now, the Green Bay Packers have a 3-game lead for a playoff spot. The Packers are currently the number in the NFC. The first team out of the playoff picture, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is 6-6. Packers are 9-3. The Packers have a 3-game lead. The other 2 teams at 6-6, the Arizona Cardinals and the LA Rams, also 6-6, as I mentioned. Packers have beaten them both. The San Francisco 49ers, below them, 5-7, if they go on a run, which I don't think they will because Christian McCaffrey's out for the year, and they stink. Packers beat them too. So the Packers are going to make the playoffs. It's just about where they're seated. And if they get the 6 or the 5, then they're going to play the winner of the NFC South or the winner of the NFC West in the first round. Which, for me, if it's the NFC West, I got to fly to the West Coast. Not great, but it's a favorable matchup for the Packers. You just can't get the 7. Now, this could all come back and, prove me wrong because the Packers might lose in Seattle. Packers might lose in Atlanta or wherever, Tampa. But if they get the 7, they got to go to Philly in the first round or Detroit, whoever gets the 2. So even if the Packers don't get the 1 or the 2, as long as they get the 5 or the 6, they can't drop to the 7 because the likelihood you go into Philly and win or go into Detroit and win in the playoffs, much less, I would imagine, than getting the 5 or 6 and going into Atlanta, Tampa, Seattle, LA, whatever it may be. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so as well. Obviously, I feel like, especially the way Kirk Cousins played yesterday.
Oof, my goodness.
That was
now the Packers need him to play well this week because the Falcons visit the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh yes, the return
revenge game.
Exactly, yes. And Washington right now is that 8-5 team at the 7th spot, so it's feasible that they could be switched at some point. But boy, the Packers would have to. They've got what, 5 games left. In order to get the 7 seed, I think they'd have to go 2-3.
Well, right now Washington is the 7, and they are 8-5.
Yeah, they're 1.5 back of them.
1.5 back. The Commanders have a bye week this week. Bottom line is Packers just have to win on Thursday. I thought it was interesting. Yeah. Jordan Love, and this is the last thing I'll say before we get to our first break. Oh, and by the way, those final judgments, got to say this, presented by Habush and Rotier, national reputation, hometown service. Go to habush.com. Jordan Love, normally fairly expansive in his answers, not, the most anecdotal guy, doesn't go on and on and on, but he gives you something. He rarely just keeps it at one sentence. Well, this week, Jordan Love was asked about what's at stake on Thursday, how it's the Packers' last realistic shot to stay in the division race, and his answer, we're ready to go get a win on Thursday. That's all he said. Lucas Van Ness today talked about, we know what's at stake. Packers know this is their last shot to stay in the division because if they lose this, they're 3 games back of the NFC North lead with 4 to go, having lost both games to the Lions this year. You're done.
Yeah. They're locked in right now, though. I'll tell you that much.
What'd you say?
It seems that this team is locked in.
It does. And I would be too if I was 9-3 with a legitimate chance at the Super Bowl, but that's just me. Massive game on Thursday. We'll continue getting you ready for it throughout the night tonight and into tomorrow and on Wednesday with another Wednesday football feast. But until then, go do something fun with your life for the next 5 minutes and then sit right back down in your chair or turn this show right back on. We'll be back in a couple minutes. It's the Matt Schneidman Show on the Game.
I can't follow. Since the love that you left is all that I get, I want you to know that if I can't be close to you.
I don't hear commercials. That's fantastic. All right. It's a big one on Thursday. Packers Lions at Ford Field. We'll get you ready tonight at 6. Maybe our
He was a boy, she was a girl. Can I make it any more obvious? He was a punk. She did
Is your holiday shopping done yet? Iron Jocks got you. now through Cyber Monday, December 2nd. That's tonight. Enjoy 40% off Iron Jock's entire line with promo code HOLIDAY40. HOLIDAY40. 40% off everything except for clearance items and gift cards. So if you're stuck on what to get someone, give the gift of Iron Jock. Go to ironjock.com for details. That's ironjoc.com for 40% off now through December 2nd. That's tonight. So get it done quick. All right, we got Pro Bowl voting, Hunter. The first installment of the Pro Bowl fan vote was released today. Yes, big deal.
Big deal.
Plenty of people from these Green Bay Packers on the list. You know what? Actually, first, let's go to the injury report because that pertains to the game more.
Oh. Switching gears. Keeping me on my toes. I like it.
There you go. All right. Packers have a lot more guys listed on the injury report, but that is because the Lions have a couple guys on IR. For example, Malcolm Rodriguez, their starting linebacker, IR. Aiden Hutchinson, obviously everyone knows who he is, IR. Lions have some injuries. I believe I saw a graphic of the 15 top guys for the Lions at defensive line, linebacker, and edge rusher, meaning interior defensive line, defensive end, linebacker. To start the season, 11 of them are injured and likely won't be playing on Thursday. So the Lions are severely in their front seven. Their injury report is shorter than the Packers, much shorter, but they do have more DNPs. For the Packers, Jair Alexander, limited with a knee injury. It's promising for the Packers to see him back practicing 2 days in a row now. Does he play on Thursday? I don't know. He practiced, I believe, all 3 days in a limited capacity before a game earlier this season and then didn't play. So it's no guarantee he plays. All Matt LaFleur said today regarding Jair's status was that he was progressing. Corey Ballantyne has been a DNP the last 2 days because of the knee injury he sustained on the opening kickoff against the Dolphins. Kenny Clark was limited because of rest. Edgerrin Cooper, DNP with his hamstring injury that he picked up in practice last week, I believe it was. He is probably unlikely to play if he hasn't practiced yet this week. Romeo Doubs, limited, still in the concussion protocol. You can practice while in the concussion protocol. He's just progressing through it. Matt LaFleur said, we'll see when asked if Doubs would be ready to play on Thursday in Detroit. John Fitzpatrick, tight end, limited with a back injury. Josh Jacobs, limited with a calf injury. Elton Jenkins, DNP because of a knee injury, though that's a rest day. If you have any sort of ailment, you need to be put on the injury report with that. But Elton practiced yesterday, didn't practice today. I'm positive that is just a rest day. Josh Myers, limited with a pec injury. Rasheed Walker, limited with a knee injury. Colby Wooden, limited with a shoulder injury. So all those limited guys I expect to play. Cooper and Ballantyne probably going to be the only ones that don't. For the Detroit Lions, Taylor Decker, DNP with a knee injury. That's something to watch. Levi Onwuzurike, their defensive tackle, DNP with a hamstring injury. Josh Paschal, DNP with a knee injury. DJ Reader, DNP with a shoulder injury. And Carlton Davis, III, limited with a knee injury. So the Lions are really banged up, specifically on their front seven on defense. That's why I'm picking the Packers 31-27. Because I think the Lions are going to be able to move the ball on the Packers, even though the Packers only allowed 17 points on the defensive side. They lost 24-14. Jordan Love threw a pick six. Packers defense only allowed 17 points to the Lions last time. I don't know if the Packers can do that a second time in a row. So I'm taking the Lions to score 17. No, not 17. That's what they scored last time. I'm taking the Lions to score 27. But I think the Packers can run the ball and throw the ball, especially with how banged up the Lions front seven is. So I'm going 31-27. But that's the injury report. Doubs and Alexander, the big ones to watch for the Packers. Matt LaFleur, obviously, I don't blame him, not really lending any insight of significance into whether they'll play or not. But having those two guys back would be massive for the Green Bay Packers on Thursday.
It would. And you Jair, just the Packers have they've found a way to win without him. I mean, that's the truth, and they have. But you have to you have to think that it is going to be easier on that defense whenever you have a guy like Jair on the field, and not just because of what he brings on the defensive side, but just the mind games that it plays with the other team as well. And with the other team not going to that side of the field and having to think about, that caliber of a player covering one of their wide receivers. So I think not only does it help on the field defensively, but just the scheming wise. And I think it's smart of LaFleur and the Packers not to announce anything until game time and try to hopefully be able to have him play and announce that 90 minutes before kickoff.
And a reminder that for these Thursday games, the questionables, outs, doubtfuls are not released 2 days before like they are for Sunday games.
Oh,
they're released on Friday for Sunday games. That is released on Wednesday for Thursday games. So, and roster moves can be made on the day of the game, not on Saturday for a Sunday game. Now, if you're watching the stream and just wondered why my screen went dark for a second, I realized my screen was a little blurry. Sometimes that just happens because my hands were sweaty today and, I'm taking video in the locker room and whatnot. And for my mother who's watching right now, I realized that before she texted me to wipe off my lens. And then during our last break, I wiped off my lens, but it didn't change. And the light is kind of shining over my face when my screen is blurry or my lens is blurry. It happens to be because I wiped off the back lens, not the front one that's facing me. So
yeah, that would do it.
I wiped off the wrong one. So that's why I just did that. And now it's back to normal. So
yeah, it's looking really good. It's HD Matt Schneidman right now.
Yeah. And everyone wants that. So, all right.
4K even.
Pro Bowl voting time.
Let's dive into. Here we go. Let's dive into it. Votes are in.
Yes, I was going to ask for that sound effect. Yeah.
Actually, I need like one of those like election sounders.
You do.
It's time to call the whatever state. Yeah.
All right.
We'll get that for when they actually announce the actual.
Yeah. This is just the first return on Pro Bowl fan voting.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not the final Pro Bowl team. This is just the first return. And I think there's like 3 of these. The first return on Pro Bowl fan voting. A lot of Packers in there. The NFL just released the top 10 vote getters at each position. And there are 20 positions. Top 10 vote getters at each position. Fan voting. At center, I'll read off the number 1 player at each position and where the Packers rank at the position.
Okay.
Because if I just read off everybody, we'd be here till 9 p.m. At center, Kansas City Chiefs, Creed Humphrey, number 1. The player the Packers selected the pick before Creed Humphrey in the 2021 draft is number 7. Josh Myers comes in at number 7 out of 32 NFL centers. So not bad in the first installment of the fan voting. Free safety. Number 1, and the Green Bay Packers, the same player. Xavier McKinney is number 1 at free safety. I don't think that's a surprise there. Outside linebacker. Packers don't have any because they don't have any outside linebackers. They are defensive ends in Jeff Hafley's 4-3 scheme. Packers do have a defensive end in the top 10. We'll get to that in a bit. Strong safety. Packers do not have any. Well, outside linebacker TJ Watt is number 1. Strong safety Kyle Hamilton is number 1. Packers do not have any there. So no Javon Bullard, no Evan Williams. Cornerback. Marlon Humphrey of the Baltimore Ravens, number 1. Jair Alexander, number 5. Packer fans, they love voting. Jair Alexander would tell you he does not deserve to be number 5, but he's been just injured. At guard, Kevin Zeitler from the Lions, number 1. Elton Jenkins, number 8. Punter, Tommy Townsend from the Texans, number 1. Daniel Whelan, number 9. Funny enough, Corey Borkes, former Packers punter, number 2 on that list.
I think Whelan should be higher.
Yeah, but nobody knows who Daniel Whelan is across the NFL except us here in Green Bay. Special teams player, Sione Vaki from the Lions, number 1. Zane Anderson from the Packers, number 6.
Oh.
Yeah. You didn't think you'd see Zane Anderson on a Pro Bowl list today, did you?
No, I can't say I did. What? And no disrespect to him because he's been a special teams ace, as they call him.
Defensive end, Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals, number 1.
Okay.
Rashawn Gary, number 9. Inside linebacker, Roquan Smith from the Ravens, number 1. Quay Walker, number 6. Quarterback, Lamar Jackson, number 1. Jordan Love, not on the list.
Whoa. Not in the top 10?
I was surprised at that only because of his popularity. I don't think he's played like a top 10 quarterback this year,
True.
largely because of injury, but
Do you have the top 10 in front of you?
Yeah.
Who's the 10? Like who's
quarterbacks?
Yeah, if you just run them down 1 to 10.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe
Yep.
Burrow, Jaden Daniels, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Bo Nix, and Sam Darnold.
I was wondering if Darnold was in there. Okay, so
And
he's
he
10.
was.
Mm-hmm.
At offensive tackle, another Detroit line at number 1, Penei Sewell, and a Packer at number 10, Zach Tom. Defensive tackle, Dexter Lawrence of the Giants at number 1. No Packers on the list, no Kenny Clark. Kicker, Chris Boswell of the Steelers, number 1. No Brandon McManus, and no Braden Narvison on the list. Running back. Yeah.
Was he on
Running
the
back.
ballot?
I don't know.
Narv dog. Right in. Let's
Running
get a
back.
right in.
Yeah, they were running back.
No, let's get a right in candidate going for the
Braden Narvison.
Yes, for the kicker.
Who was 35th in the NFL in field goal percentage
Yes,
during the first
I
6
think we
weeks
should
of the season.
write in Braden Narvison, everybody. So on
do
your
that.
tickets, write in Narv dog.
Hasn't played since week 6. Going to the Pro Bowl.
Narv dash dog.
Fair enough. Running back, Derrick Henry, number 1. Josh Jacobs, number 4.
Okay.
Obviously, the top 2, Derrick Henry and Saquon
And
Barkley.
Saquon. Who's 3?
Take a guess. That's what I was just going to ask you.
Ooh. Wonder if this is just a popularity one.
I wouldn't say so.
Jonathan Taylor?
No.
Ooh.
I would put Josh Jacobs number 3 in terms of talent,
Okay.
but this or production this season. But this guy is a
AFC
stud.
or NFC?
Packers are going to see him on Thursday.
Oh, Gibbs?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. The Lions are, boy, when your team is good, you're going to get a lot of votes just because.
Lions have 19 players. I think Packers have 14
Yeah.
in the top 10.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I wonder if you think the Eagles have more?
I don't know.
That'd be interesting.
You know what I'm not going to do?
Count them
Count them.
on the air.
At tight end, George Kittle, number 1.
Okay.
And people were not happy about this. Tucker Kraft at number 10.
Ooh.
People think Tucker Kraft should be higher up that list, and I would agree. Brock Bowers, number 2. You can't argue with that.
Okay.
Travis Kelce, number 3. Trey
Okay.
McBride, Jonnu Smith, Cade Otton, Sam Laporta, Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, Tucker Kraft.
He could be higher. He could be higher.
Fullback, there's only 9 because there are only 9 fullbacks in the league. Kyle Juszczyk, number 1. Long snapper, Andrew DePaola from the Vikings, number 1. Matthew Orzech from the Packers, number 7.
Is he? All right. There you go, Matthew.
Return
Atta kid.
specialist, Kevontae Turpin, number 1 from the Cowboys. Keyshawn Nixon, number 7.
Okay.
Wide receiver.
Mm.
Packers don't have anyone in this category, right? They don't have a number 1. Justin Jefferson, Minnesota Vikings. Jaden Reed, number 8.
There you go.
Jaden Reed cracked it.
He's been
Ready?
the one this year.
Let's see, Hunter Baumgardt, if you
Okay.
can name the top 10 wide receivers in Pro Bowl fan voting right now.
Oh, boy. Okay, so number 1 was who?
Justin Jefferson.
All right. Yeah, this is not going to be in order, but we're just going to.
Yeah, not in order.
Oh, boy. Okay, we're going to go A.J. Brown.
Number 9.
Okay. This is where it's like, okay, think of a wide receiver first.
This is good.
Is
radio
Marvin
right
Harrison
here.
in there?
No.
Is I'm gonna have to go by team now. Okay. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
He's number 3.
Okay. Oh, number 3. No, they wouldn't have one. Bears.
And if you have a guess,
Terry McLaurin.
1-877. I don't have this number memorized yet.
794-1973.
1-877-794-1973. The
Yeah.
new Nicolay.
Yeah.
.com, NicolayLaw.com talking text line.
Yeah. Let us help Hunter out. Terry McLaurin.
Yes, he's number 4.
Is CeeDee Lamb on there?
Yes, he is. Number 5.
Okay.
You're just going in order. You just got the last 3 in order. 3, 4, 5.
Maybe
You
I'm
skipped
better
2.
at this than I'm
You
just
skipped
going.
number 2.
I'm lucky I went to the NFC East before I went to the AFC East because I'm just going around divisions right
Think
now. In my head.
AFC North. 2 and 6. 2, 6, and 7 are AFC North.
Oh, okay.
Now you got to get them in order.
Okay, so Jamar Chase.
Number 2, yes.
Okay.
Number 6.
Is T. Higgins?
No.
Okay. Ooh. Why can't I think of Ravens or Steelers wide receivers right now?
Number 6's college head coach was Jeff Hafley.
Ooh, at Boston College? That's going to be. Ooh, we're getting. Puka Nakua is a good guess.
He is not in the top 10.
Okay. He was hurt a lot.
Zay Flowers.
Zay, that's who it
Boston
was. I
College.
could not think of who
Number
that
6.
Baltimore
And number
receiver-
7.
From Pittsburgh?
Correct.
Again, blanking on the Pittsburgh receiver.
George
Pickens.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Number 8, Jaden Reed. Number 9, A.J. Brown. Number 10, Nico Collins.
Okay.
So those are your top 10 players
Yeah.
in fan voting for the first return. A lot of voting left to go, not just from fans, but from coaches as well, to determine the 2024 Pro Bowlers. I don't get a vote. Hopefully, eventually I will. What were you going to say?
Credit to unnamed the 4-4 for George Pickens there.
Yes.
Justin
George
from
Pickens.
Kansasville as well. So you don't so it's fan vote and then do the writers vote?
I don't know.
Or is it just fans? Might be just
Actually,
fans.
I
Because
don't
that's
know
what
how it is right now.
I think that's the MLB All-Star game. It's just fans.
Let me double check that. I'll double
Which
check
is
that during the
wild.
break.
But then I think if there's a reserve, then maybe that there's some say from the
Then the coaches say. Right.
Yeah.
I'll look that up during the break.
Yeah.
So let's get to one more break here on this
research.
return of the Matt Schneidman Show on Monday. After the break, I want to talk about two guys who are playing their best football as of now, and boy, they could be X factors to a deep playoff run. If you want to guess who they are on the talking text line, 1-877-794-1973, the NicoleLaw.com talking text line. Let us know who you think those two players are. We'll reveal them and hear some sound from their coordinator. There's a hint. After the break. This is the Matt Schneidman Show right here on The Game. Back on the Matt Schneidman Show, wrapping up Monday, December 2nd. Happy birthday to Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones having a much better year, probably just happiness-wise, than Aaron Rodgers is.
He's probably enjoying his team a lot more there.
Yes.
Vikings are
Aaron
7
Jones, not
games
the best day
better.
yesterday. Not the best day yesterday for Aaron Jones, but he did catch the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah.
After dropping one earlier. But
if you'd have said the weekend of Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving weekend, the Vikings would be 7 games better than the New York Jets at the beginning of the season, people would have just absolutely laughed at you. Here we are.
And rightfully so.
Here we are, 10-2,
Here we are.
3-9.
All right, I mentioned before the break that I wanted to talk about 2 guys playing their best football at the right time who haven't played great this year overall. But them doing so right now in December as the calendar turns, massive for the Packers on defense. Quay Walker, Lucas Van Ness. Lucas Van Ness gotten on the sack sheet last couple games. Quay Walker has played his 2 best games of the season the last 2 weeks. He talked about after the game on Thursday how he just needs to see it and go. He overthinks too much. He's too hard on himself. If he just lets his physical abilities take over, his speed, his physicality, his tackling, he can be a real productive player is what he said. But he thinks too much. He hesitates too much. He didn't play well against the Bears. He had that hesitation on what could have been a sack of Caleb Williams or what could have been a pressure to force a throwaway, and Caleb Williams had time to complete a pass to convert a 4th and 2. Jeff Hafley said Quay Walker should have kept going. Now, the next 2 games, he's responded really well, playing his best games of the season. Lucas Van Ness today admitted that he started the season quietly and knows he's come on recently. If the Packers can get Lucas Van Ness to come alive in this pass rush and get Quay Walker to play like he did against the Dolphins and 49ers, breaking up passes, he should have had an interception, but breaking up a couple passes, including on that 2-point conversion late against the Dolphins, blitzing on these simulated pressures and forcing quarterbacks to step up in the pocket or right into other sacks. Packers could win the Super Bowl if guys like Lucas Van Ness and Quay Walker step up, and I don't think that's any exaggeration. Here's what Jeff Hafley, Green Bay's defensive coordinator, had to say about the 2 guys today.
I do, and I think there's a lot of guys starting to hit that stride. I think guys are gaining confidence in themselves. They're gaining confidence in the scheme because they know what they're doing, and they're getting more confidence in what they're doing. And when you have cumulative reps over time, that usually happens. And I think Quay's a prime example where a lot of you guys kind of asked me, and it was like he's going to be okay, and he's playing his best football, and I still think he's going to get even better because I have that high expectations for him because I think he's that talented, and you're starting to see it. And if you guys were to watch him at practice right now, he's practicing with a whole different level of confidence, and you can hear it. Just how loud he is when he's communicating, how he's bending, how he's lining up, how he's moving around. And Van Ness is doing the same thing. And it's just, I appreciate the patience, but it's a matter of time before these guys in year 1 with new techniques and new system and new calls are getting more comfortable. And the whole goal is to play better and better each week, where the last game of the year we're playing is as good football as we have. And that's what he's doing right now. And I'm proud of him because it's hard. And he didn't lose his confidence, but there's moments it's like this because he's got high expectations from outside and from inside. And, you could see early on, you could see that waning on him a little bit, but he should be confident right now because he's playing good football. And I expect a lot out of him too. And I'm excited to see what he can do in these last, this week for sure.
Hunter Baumgardt, how big is it for the Packers defense if those 2 guys start rolling, or they've started rolling, if they keep rolling, I should say?
It's big because, and we've talked about one of the keys being for the Packers defense is the pass rush. And they are 2 key cogs in that. And we saw Quay Walker with a huge sack against the Dolphins, and Van Ness obviously with some big plays lately as well. So especially obviously the strip against San Francisco, you just see these guys really doing what the expectations or what the Packers had drafted them to do. But I do think it's so key because if you look at this team defensively, offensively, special teams, one of the things that has been picked on, or one of the things that has been talked about as a weakness of this team has been the pass rush. So I think especially Lucas Van Ness, who does that so often, but then also Quay Walker, who not necessarily in a pass rush way, but also just whatever he's done, he's been picked on at times this year, and especially by fans or on social media, whatever it happens to be, as not being what he could be. I think people see what he could be and hope that that's what he is. So I think with his pass rush, I think that's really the key. And those are two key guys in that. So when I look at the pass rush and I say that's the thing that needs to improve, I think those two guys are going to be big reasons why.
Absolutely. And, we wondered how the Packers would compensate for trading Preston Smith. Not that he was producing at some crazy level, but he said Aaron Mosby, Brenton Cox, they're really going to take his snaps. They needed better than Preston Smith. And are those guys really expected to be better?
Right.
It made some flashes here and there, but I think the area that the Packers needed to see more from was with Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness and Kingsley Enagbari. And they've gotten that. Now, all they need to do is get them to stop lining up both sides.
Yeah.
And then they'll be fine. Oh, my goodness. I'm writing a story on that for Wednesday morning. And I asked Jeff Hafley about the Packers continually lining up in the neutral zone 4 times in the last 2 games. Leads the NFL in offsides penalties. Tied for first in encroachment penalties. Tied for first in neutral zone infractions.
Wow.
All 3 different penalties on the defensive line. Good Lord. Jeff Hafley was irritated talking about that.
Really?
Not at me, but at the fact that the Packers can't get it fixed. And Matt LaFleur had some scathing words about his team in that regard as well. So keep an eye on that story going up Wednesday morning at The Athletic. But yeah, go back to the pass rush. We wondered how Preston Smith's absence would affect the team. I think Rashawn Gary and Van Ness and Enagbari are playing their best ball of the season right now.
Yeah. And so you complement all those guys in there, and that's what's leading to the success on defense. There's a couple folks on the NicoleLaw.com talking text line who guessed right. The other Ken in the Falls, Quay and Lucas Van Ness. Stephen Germantown said Van Ness. Brett in the 262 said Lucas Van Ness and Quay. So they were catching on to
everyone
what
knows
we were talking about. Yeah.
Those are the 2 guys on the rise, taking off right now. Can they keep it up? It's one thing to do it. And I'll say this. It's one thing to do it when you know other teams are passing. The Packers have gotten out to big early leads against the 49ers and Dolphins.
Sure.
It helps the run defense because you're not defending against as many runs since teams are in obvious passing situations. It lets guys pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. Can they do it against the Detroit Lions? That's a different animal. Literally, a Dolphin is different than a Lion.
Do the Lions have someone named Duck?
No, but the Dolphins do. Storm Duck, in fact. That is just a legendary name.
Quack, quack.
I wonder what that guy's real name is before we get out of here. Storm Duck. Storm Duck's real name is Storm.
There you go.
Storm Chandler Duck. Fascinating. Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow night talking to the voice of the Packers, Wayne Larrivee. Keep on rolling this week as we get you ready for Packers Lions big Thursday night game. He's Hunter. I'm Matt. We appreciate everyone for listening.
I see you all over me.